I think the nice frame that Nick just laid out, that there were two very important differences about Paris that made things work. I mean, at so many points of this process, it wasn't working. And the first was the recognition of the price we're paying has been steadily going up. As I've had the pleasure to travel the world with the Secretary General, unfortunately, one of the things that you get to see when you go to every corner of this planet is increasing impact. And everyone can measure that in their own local way. So I agree entirely with Nick that that was a push factor. But the pull factor, I would say, is even stronger on this agreement, which was the second point that Nick credited, the opportunity narrative, the fact that governments and other players recognized that there was opportunity in this. It wasn't just the necessity. So how do we coax forth from an opportunity narrative to hard interest-based investments across a whole range of areas that need increased investment? Because I'm sitting up here with all this finance and economic firepower, I'm going to focus on governance, because that's one where I think at least I won't be quite as much in the shade of the two on either side of me here. The governance piece of this equation is huge, and I would not underestimate how novel what happened in Paris was. We have tried many times, and I would say in my time at the UN over the last decade, to coax forth a broader, not just a multilateral model, but a multi-stakeholder model for governing global public goods. There are many reasons why we underprovide public goods and underprovide global public goods in particular, but this is a particularly vexing area, and as even 1.5 years out from Paris, the common assumption was that climate would drag the SDGs down, that these two needed to be handled kind of separately because the development agenda was the positive agenda and the climate agenda was the negative agenda and could pull down the positive development on development. I think that assumption about what would pull what and what would pull what down were inverted in the course of the 1.5 years or so leading up to both the SDGs and the MDG and the Climate Accord. So interestingly, how did we get to a sense of going from the rhetoric of mutually reinforcing goals in development, global development, and climate change? I think the governance piece of this is central because we broaden the base of the discussion fairly dramatically. This was a negotiation among governments, but make no mistake about it, the governments were accompanied every step of the way of this process by not just companies, not just finance houses, but the citizens in the streets, the NGOs, the academics pumping studies into the bloodstream in various countries and various decision-making processes. This is an ecosystem of governance that looks, tastes, and feels dramatically different than it did 2 and 3 years ago. So it's a big deal that what happened in Paris is really the first, I would say, embodiment of a new governance dynamic. But it is fragile. It's powerful, but it's fragile. It's fragile because it is intrinsically decentralized. There is no guiding hand that is going to push all of this, whether individuals, institutions, or marketplaces. So it's a very decentralized equation. It is also an axiom that each one of those constituencies that I mentioned have different bottom lines. And how do you get the different bottom lines to at least add up or to overlap enough on a Venn diagram that they will act together? And so I think the governance equation is about holding all of these different constituencies, the multi-stakeholder reality that we live today together, to achieve 3 things that otherwise they would not achieve. First, as Nick mentioned and Amar mentioned, speed. time is of the essence. Everything we don't do today is something we have to do 2 or 3 times more of tomorrow, or 10 times more tomorrow. So speed, scale, getting good solutions into a lot more hands a lot faster. And the third, in addition to the S's of speed and scale, I would say is strategic coherence. You can't just attack the climate equation piece by piece.